But yet in every verse claim you used to do the dirt. But tell me who's a witness to your fucking work. See, you never handle business, so say the drama jerk. Niggas straight kill me, knowing that they pranksters. This is going out to your studio gangsters. See, I did dirt, put in work, and many niggas can vouch that. So since I got stripes, I got the right to rap about that. But niggas like you, I kinda hate ya, cause I'm just tired of suburban niggas talking about they come from projects, knowing you ain't seen no parts of the streets, G. Think you started trying to bang around the top of the beach, streety, wearing khakis and my while your rhyme, little fag, trying to sing, but you're flooding at the same time, and your set don't accept ya. Scared to kick it with your homies, cause you know they don't respect ya. So nigga, please check nuts before you step to these motherfucking real way.
Yo, 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 yo! I decided to put that clip. I just love that song. You know, as I grow older and I see the Eazy-E versus Dr. Dre stuff, I gotta support Eazy-E. I'm sorry, yeah. It's like at the time, Fuck With Dre Day was pretty clever, but when you when you realize all the stuff that Dr. Dre has done, I mean, you know, Dr. Dre has really fallen off. So I think it's, you know, real motherfucking G's holds up far better than Dre Day does, you know, especially considering all the stuff that Eazy-E had. But anyway, this kind of feeds in this whole idea that there's a lot of folks that LARP online. They've been doing this, you know. These internet revolutionaries. And these internet revolutionaries are no different than the studio gangsters that Dresta was talking about. There's a lot of these internet revolutionaries who they're going to talk a big game, and you know they say they're going to do this and that, or that, you know, some of them will try to be clever and they'll try to say, well, we don't advocate for violence, but, you know, and they're very slick like that, you know. And you get these types of folks, and they think that they know better. And they think, oh yeah, well, we're gonna do something about it. They ain't gonna do nothing. You know, the thing is, I've played the internet revolutionary role as well. So I'm calling myself out a little bit. But it's like, look, man, this shit does exist. These type of folks who think that they know better, and that, you know, because they've read Marx and Lenin and all this type of shit, then they think that they're going to do something. Man, shoot. Look, you know, if the federal government collapsed tomorrow, you wouldn't know what to do. You wouldn't have a clue. If a state government fell, if let's say because of all this all this snow and the energy systems failing in the state of Texas, and if the state government down in Austin fell, you wouldn't have a clue as to what to do. I wouldn't either. I'm just saying is that, you know, the thing is that you can talk a big game. Oh, well, I've read Marx and Lenin, and you can predict these larger systemic things. Okay. Do you know anything about accounting? Whoa, no. Do you know anything about finance? No. What about Bitcoin or any of this? No, I you know. It's like, what do you do for work? Well, you know, I'm a streamer. You know, people like Vosh, right? Who make $500,000 a year. And this is what he said. He said $500,000 a year, estimated. This fool pulls down that much money, and he says, well, maybe in a couple of years I'll do a pack. Come on, man. Y'all can't fall for that. Nobody can be that stupid. I'm just gonna be honest with you. How could you be that stupid and think, oh yeah, this dude's got my best interest because reasons? Come on, man. It just, I know that was kind of a schizo point. You know, that was like full, you know, like, you know, full leaps there, you know, leaps and bounds. But it's like, come on, man. You know, it's like there are, like I say, there's some folks who do have regular jobs, but it's like, ask them, you know, about their state, they don't know what the fuck's going on. Hell, I'll be honest with you. I don't even know what's going on in my own city that I live in. I say my city in the sense that, I live here. But it's like, we don't know. And I don't claim to, but it's like, look, until you understand the local systems, then there's no point you trying to talk about Marx and Lenin. Or to talk about anarchism, this and that. And doing all this sort of mutual aid and doxing folks and all that shit. It's like, or infiltrate, far right groups. As that It's Going Down folks talk about. If you don't know how this present system holds itself up, and I know, I'm sure someone's going to say, but they do know how it holds up. You're talking about the larger issues. Okay, but how does the local system organize? Do you know where the local city folks, where their office is? Do you know how they come about, acquiring what they need? Do you know, do you know a fucking bus schedule even? You have these folks that they don't have a clue. They talking, like I say, this is the difference between big thinking versus small thinking. Or, big strategic thinking versus small tactical thinking. Everyone wants to be a general. Nobody wants to be a private. Nobody wants to be that staff sergeant on the ground trying to understand how he can get better for his folks. That's the whole thing. People get so worried about the national consciousness. It's hard to talk about what's going on locally. I'm talking in broad terms. I'm sure, like I say, in general, people will talk about, larger, we'll talk about those issues. But in general, people, your Marxist-Leninists or your anarchists, they want to build clout instead online by debating people like Vosh or something like that. Look, it's not worth debating people like him. Why don't you actually go out in the street? This is the same thing with, that Wignets are talking about. Go out in the street and better yet, get a regular job and talk to people. Talk to folks at church instead of, just, joining the collective, jerk-off session, for 2.5 hours or something like that, where people talk about, building structures and all this stuff. Do it then. And that, like I say, that includes me too. It does, absolutely. I don't say this by saying, oh, yeah, well, I'm blameless. No. I'm not. Believe me. But, it's going to be different wherever you are. If you live in, small town Texas like I do, you're going to have to play to that audience a bit more. You can't just be Mr. Oh, I don't like religion or this and that. You're going to have to play along and be like, okay, what are we going to do from here? So it's just food for thought. Like I say, I think that, I say this more and more because I see people like Jason Unruh. And it's like, I can agree with what he said about the IMF, even though he wants to dab on the folks who do cryptocurrency. That's fine, but it's like, okay, what do you know about it? But the thing is that we see these folks who just cope, and they're just like third world and all that, and then they're gonna pick out some rando type of shit. They'll talk about like Angola and be like, oh yeah, well, Angola does it. It's like, bruh, who cares about Angola? Or he'll talk about, oh well, Cuba, Cuba isn't socialist anymore, so we have to give them up, And you see all the folks in the comments that are like, North Korea, let's go to North Korea. Get the fuck out of here. Why don't you, once again, that shows kind of the defeatism, and it also goes to show the opportunism that exists, where it's like, oh, how easy is it for an American to go to North Korea? Why don't you fix this country instead of running away? Instead of running away to a country that doesn't want you around. Why don't you stay here and fix that shit? It's like, look, right now, I'm doing what little I can. I'm making sure for the household that I live in with my mom and dad, I'm making sure the laundry gets done, okay? I cleared off the snow to make sure that folks could get, that mom and dad could get out, all right? I'm doing what little I can. But that's the situation partly I put myself in. But that's a whole other thing. Do what little you can to do, I'm making sure the laundry is kept up, that way we can have some clothes for Monday. If you can do more and you have more time in your hands and you have enough gas to go around the city that you live in, do what you can. To teach them the right ways, or to teach them better. If they have trouble with their family or something like that, and you're more in a stable position, help that kid out. A lot of people, it's easy to get caught up in all this sort of, well, we're gonna win and all this sort of stuff. How are you gonna win? Victory to me, victory doesn't mean much. When you get older, you realize that victory is not a change from one thing to the other. It just means that some of the folks at the top change, and maybe this is more just loosely populistic and not necessarily socialistic, but that's how I feel about it. The thing is that there's a lot of problems in the United States. There are. And people have to fix them. Running away to somewhere else or fantasizing about the DPRK or something like that is not going to help you. But people want to do something else. They think that, it's easy to just be part of a writing group or a reading group, I should say, and join, some organization where they argue about ridiculous shit or argue in the streets with with the Proud Boys or something like that, and you think somehow that's praxis. That's not praxis. You can talk about mutual aid all day, but to me, mutual aid is a temporary thing. Just baking some cookies for folks. You're not a fucking church. You gotta do a little bit more than that. And I think that a lot of folks aren't willing to. They like I said, everyone wants to look like the big revolutionary, like they're gonna do something crazy. Oh my gosh, yeah, we threw bricks through a Democratic Party window. Yeah, we're fighting the system, bro. No, you're not. You're just being a child with a temper tantrum. Why don't you go help somebody that is worse off than you? And that includes me. I say that with $7 in the bank. But look, it is what it is. I just hope that this is, somewhat informative. And maybe it'll be a kick in the pants for me to do something more productive for society. I did PALS in high school, which is basically like, you go to other schools and you try to help out where you can with kids that are at risk. And I say that, and it was a fairly minor thing, but it's like, stuff needs to happen out there. People need help. And while I myself need to do that, I'm just saying is that we as a larger society, we as a larger United States, if you want to consider yourself progressive or left-wing in any way, or even right-wing in that case, instead of bitching or, getting drunk about it, why don't you go out there and help somebody? And that doesn't mean just, don't try to be a fucking hero. What I'm saying is that go out there and, if there's a real big flood or something like that, then do what you can to help. Or if, this isn't just charity, but it's like, if you can help with Habitat for Humanity or something like that, do something like that, just so you can have that connection. You know what I mean? I think that's all I gotta say. Like I say, a lot of that may be empty rhetoric, but hopefully, in the future, that can be how people move, instead of trying to get everyone, completely class conscious, or, get everyone, into a uniform or whatever. Why don't you just try to help them? Help them, help their material conditions a little bit. Instead of just talking about larger issues and everything else like that, just try to put out a hand. Instead of just always trying to be an internet revolutionary, acting like you're going to do something. And, maybe one day I'll do a PAC. Maybe one day I'll start a political action committee. And just hoping that those politicians are going to do good. That's all the PAC is. It's just It's just another empty promise where it's like, well, this money, if we back this candidate, this Democratic candidate or something like that, then yeah, they're going to do something good. You're passing the buck. Stop passing the buck and try to do something local. And then you can worry about trying to get people involved and everything else. Why don't you just try to help them? It's like, if someone gets robbed or something like that, I don't know, man. Like I say, I've been talking long enough. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully it's something to think about for folks. And yeah, that's all I can really say. Hope y'all have a good one. See you later. Goodbye.